My name is Nancy Walters. I'm the Executive Director of the La Jolla Community Center, and thank you for joining our Wednesday Connect program. We're very excited to have Urs and Ursula Baumann be our speakers for today. We have a long history with Urs and Ursula Baumann at the La Jolla Community Center. They ran cooking classes that were extremely successful there for a long time, and of course they're extremely loved not only in La Jolla, but all over the world, as you can see. Before we start to introduce ourselves, I do want to remind you that this is let me get there. This is a weekly program that we, of course, would love to have you back to. We have Wednesday Connect, which is the program that you are in now. Next week, we're going to have a wonderful speaker as well. Her name is Jennifer Carter, and let me get to her. She is going to be talking to us about immune boosting food as well as whole plant-based lifestyle, and that will be next Wednesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. and that is the same link as this one, so if you can join us, please do. It's going to be very interesting. I also want to encourage everybody to if you're interested in anything having to do with the brain, this is Dr. Jacopo Anesi. He's the president and CEO of the Brain Observatory and started here at UCSD. He'll be talking to us for our Distinguished Speaker Series on Tuesday, July 14th. So please join us for that, as well as our virtual classes. We have many virtual classes during the week, everything from meditation and art and yoga. So I really encourage you to sign up for those classes. They're fantastic and available for you. And yeah, so I hope that you can join us. And also, for those of you who don't know about the Community Center, we are a nonprofit organization and we serve adults and seniors by providing wonderful programming throughout the day. In the evening, we normally have wonderful concert series and speaker series, which we're now transitioning to virtual. So we are going to get started, and I'm going to introduce Urs and Ursula, and then they're going to take it away. So like I said earlier, Urs and Ursula have been a big part of the La Jolla Community Center and the La Jolla community in general, as well as citizens from all over the world. But a little tiny bit about them. When they were young, Urs was originally trained as a French chef, and Ursula was dancing as a professional ballerina on stage. They both shared the enthusiasm of traveling and became flight attendants. They met, they got married, they fulfilled a common dream when they moved to the US in 2002. They now live in La Jolla, and every now and then they take the road less traveled. So thank you for being here, Urs and Ursula. Please help me welcome them and take it away.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, and hello, Q. Good to see you or hear you. Okay, let's start. Book signings, events can have consequences. Did you know that? Hello, everybody. We are so happy to see you all here. Welcome to our presentation about our very special adventure in Liberia, West Africa, during this COVID-19 time. Thank you, Ruth Jancik and Nancy Walters from the La Jolla Community Center for making this Zoom presentation possible. We have structured our event in 3 parts. Part 1, my wife Ursula will tell you the story about our trip for about 10 minutes. Part 2 will be our slideshow with some background music with a duration of also about 10 minutes. Part 3 is for your questions. If you can, please submit your questions to us via your chat button during our presentation. Now, listen to the speech telling you how our trip came about, what was our experience, and what we have learned. Here we go, Ursula.
In the beginning was the Word. Does that sound familiar to you? It all began about a year ago when we went to a book reading and signing event at Warwick's, our local bookstore. The author Kwanu Kwanai Kamue, who is here today with us, presented his book with the title Witness, a Civil War Through the Eyes of a Child. Q, as the author is called in short, told us about his childhood in Liberia, where he and his 4 siblings were guided by their mother through a horrific civil war. The family was running from the fighting and killing for about 1 year and then were able to flee to the neighboring state of Ivory Coast. There, they lived in a refugee camp for another 3 years before the family finally ended up in the US. After an ordeal of 4 years, they reunited with their dad, who had been stranded in the US during the entire time. Together again, they started a new life, but never forgot about their homeland of Liberia. During the book reading, we were totally fascinated by Q and his whole story. It was so genuine and compassionate how he told us about his homeland. Today, Q, his siblings, and his parents are running a foundation and an orphanage home for about 45 children in Liberia. Because of their personal experience during the horrific Civil War, the family wants to give back and help build up their beautiful country. They're dedicated to change the dire situation for the younger generations in Liberia. After the question and answer session at Warwick's, we had the opportunity to personally talk to Q. We told him that we were hands-on people and would not simply write checks to an organization. Come along on one of our witness trips, he said. There are lots of things you can do right there in Liberia at our orphanage. That got us going. We were hooked to join a witness trip. Soon enough, we met with Q and his assistant, Kumba, who is with us today as well, one evening at our home. Together, we did some brainstorming and decided that painting the classrooms at the orphanage was exactly up our alley. It took quite a lot of preparation for us in regards of trip planning, visas, getting the necessary immunization, etc., etc. In early March of this year, we were finally ready to fly to Liberia. Of course, we heard the news about the coronavirus in China at the time. It didn't really distract us from our planned 10-day trip. After all, the presentation and the preparation, we were very eager to go. As we boarded the last flight leg from Brussels to Monrovia, we found out that of the 10 people planned for our group, there were just going to be the two of us and a US college student. His name is Tyler and he's with us today as well. The rest of the group was not going to make it because of the first travel restrictions. They had caught up with them. Meeting Tyler in Brussels was a huge motivation. He told us about his fantastic experience at the orphanage in Liberia the previous year, and he was full of anticipation to get there. Once arrived in Monrovia, our witness trip started with the scheduled visits of sites and places mentioned in Q's book In and Around Monrovia, the capital. We were fascinated to see this city again after 35 years. The thing is, we were there many times on layovers as flight attendants. We remembered Monrovia as a vibrant city with lots of action everywhere, lots of very friendly and happy people trying to make a living in a hot and humid climate. Today, 35 years later, somehow not much has changed. People live under unbelievable, tough and poor conditions. The fallout of the horrible Liberian War is very real. The war started in 1989 and ended 15 years later. 250,000 people got killed and 100,000 orphans were left behind. Today, the unemployment rate is about 85%, and 70% of the population are below 25 years old. The whole infrastructure has been destroyed during the war, and almost no help is coming from the outside. Liberia is one of the poorest countries on earth, and a lot is still completely broken down. There are no running water and no electricity in most places. Yes, there are natural resources like gold, diamonds, rubber, and iron ore, and these are being taken out by big international corporations. However, not much is being done for the general population in regards of infrastructure, education, food supply, and healthcare. Before continuing our trip from Monrovia to the orphanage, we bought all the necessary supplies we needed for our painting project. Then we traveled to Banga City, about 3 hours away from the capital. Arriving at the orphanage, we were welcomed by a large group of kids singing and dancing for our arrival. It was a heartwarming and unexpected celebration. We had tears in our eyes. Once settled at the orphanage, everything went according to schedule. We completed our painting project with the help of 20 fully motivated assistants fighting over paint brushes and rollers. Tyler's solar power installation project got accomplished. Instead of using the noisy gas generator, we now enjoyed having electricity 24/7. Then, the night before our humanitarian trip was supposed to end, we got an email from Brussels Airlines that our flight home was cancelled. The country went into lockdown. No more flights in and out. We were caught with surprise and some fear. It became apparent to us that we might be living under some unusual conditions for an unknown amount of time. Imagine yourselves in a gated compound with 40+ children, staff, free-range chicken, 1 cat, and 2 dogs. 95 degrees day and night, 85% humidity, no running water, no refrigeration, no AC. Rice and green leaves for lunch, green leaves and rice for dinner every day, with the occasional chicken legs, boiled eggs, and various fruit for us as guests. The kitchen is an open pavilion with wood fires, huge iron pots that need 2 to 4 people to lift them. To feed over 50 people on a daily basis is a big task. Huge amounts of green leaves were carried into the compound every day. The oil for cooking is pressed from the fruit of the red palm trees close by. The water is pumped out of the ground from a 60-foot deep well. Girls carry the heavy water buckets on their heads to the big rain barrels in the bathrooms. And there are other buckets and ladles for washing and flushing. The laundry is done by hand every day with homemade soap. Our living conditions were very basic, but the hospitality in the orphanage was amazing. We were treated with love and compassion. It dawned on us that our stay was not about us, but about concentrating on the children. In the meantime, the schools and colleges had all closed down. The children needed support as well. We engaged the younger kids in painting, singing, geography lessons, cultural discussions, book readings, etc., etc. The older kids, the teenagers, started a vast agricultural project under the guidance of Q, his dad, and Tyler. They moved to the family farm 2 hours away from the orphanage. They got down and dirty, cleared the land, and prepared it for planting. They are still planting rice and vegetables as we speak, because the schools and colleges are still closed. We all helped each other and felt good about what we were doing. We grew into a community and got to know each other better. We read together, we sang together, we prayed together. Our only fear was the lack of healthcare in case one of us would get seriously ill. But that didn't happen. 4 weeks into the lockdown, we were informed about a repatriation flight to Europe. Being Swiss citizens, we qualified. We packed our suitcases. We were ready to go. However, in the meantime, we had bonded so much with the kids and everybody involved that it was really hard for us to say goodbye. There were tears everywhere. We had to promise to return, and we will keep our promise. I give back to Urs.
Thank you, Ursula. I think her Toastmaster training helps a lot. She's really good at it. So anyway, before she's turning over the slideshow, I just wanted to mention one more thing. One participant in our group here is Elizabeth Hansen, and she did write a fantastic article about our trip in the Ranch and Coast magazine. If you want to have a link for it, just send me an email or a WhatsApp and I can send it to you. Thank you, Elizabeth. So now Ursula is ready with our slideshow. Please enjoy. quite this little glimpse into the life in Africa, in Liberia especially. And now we have some questions probably from you.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. I have a question. I saw a big yeah, hello you too. I saw a big bathtub, and I know from Europe, when you take a bath, it costs a lot of water, and normally you don't do that because of that. You take a quick shower and that's it. So who had this idea to bring a bathtub to Africa?
Well, before the Civil War, they had running water. So there were pipes, and the running water was used for bath and toilets and everything. And then during the Civil War, everything was broken. So there's no water to the house. So the bathtub is still there. They had a pretty high comfort before the Civil War. They had everything. And then everything got broken down and never established. That's why the bathtub is still there and the toilet, but there's no water to it.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So does that mean that throughout Liberia, the way of living was much better for everybody, or just for some?
It was much better for everybody, as much as I could tell. Yes, it was much better. It got worse during the Civil War and never came back up to the standard they had before. Yes, I mean it still was a third world more or less, but they had running water and electricity most places. Yes.
Ah.
Any other questions? Yes, Julie. Yes.
Did Tyler bring everything for the solar panels with him?
Hi. How about Tyler? You can tell it yourself.
No, so I didn't bring anything with me. We have a partner based in Monrovia, and they managed all the ordering to bring everything into the country and get it to the home.
When you say we have a partner, who's we?
So me and somebody that graduated from my high school as well, and also went on the first witness trip 2 years ago. We started this initiative called Catching Light. And that's to bring solar electricity to schools and houses in the whole community where the orphanage is. Me, Max, and then Q and Kumba, who are also on this call, that's the we that we've been working together for just about a year now to make that project happen, and we're still working to do more stuff.
And if I can add, Tyler, you did all the fundraising together with your friends. So the high school kids at Bancroft High School in Massachusetts, Worcester, they generated $10,000 for the first part of the solar installation project. Yeah. And there will be more to come, hopefully.
Yes.
Bravo.
Any other questions?
Yes, how old is Tyler today?
I'm 19 now.
Oh my goodness, and you've accomplished so much more than so many, honey. Bravo.
Thank you.
And I have to mention, he is completely in love with Liberia, with the people there, and he's planning on building a house there once his study is over, and everybody down there call him the Black Tyler.
Oh. Bravo.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Hey, Urs and Ursula, why don't you tell us how people can contribute to save more kids?
Well, it's the website. Just go on the website, www.savemorekids, one word, savemorekids.org. And here we go. Is Q still on?
No.
I think that's him, right?
You might be logging on. Urs and Ursula, there's a question on Zoom on the chat. There's a question on the chat, and I don't know if you want to go into history, but Andre asked what started the Civil War, if you know a little bit more about that.
The Civil War started in 1989, and it was between the government troops and an outsider from another country. It was James Taylor, and he thought he would do a lot better job. Came in and saw that the two groups were fighting each other, but with time, it was such a big mess between the different groups that sometimes nobody exactly knew who was fighting who, and it was just the civil society, the regular people, they were the ones who were just taking the brink of all the terrible things that happened. At the end of the Civil War, that's the interesting part, was done by women. One woman, and especially, maybe Scuba still here, what's her name again? Maybe Tyler, you know? What's the name of that lady who started that rebellion against the war? They were dressed in white every day. They assembled for hundreds and thousands of women until finally the people decided, okay, that's it. And she got actually the Nobel Prize for Peace afterwards for this.
Her name is Lema Gabawi, and
Yes.
she has a foundation in Monrovia.
That's right. Yes. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys left quite some time before I left. So we never really got to reflect on the trip as we would if we were leaving together on the same plane. So
Right.
what was your like favorite or most impactful moment, and what was probably like the most difficult moment for you guys?
I think in general, if the trip would have been as planned, like a week in the orphanage, it would have made a lot less impression than what it did now. With 4 weeks being there, we just got involved so much emotionally and physically and everything, that the whole experience is just so fantastic for us now that we say, of course, we will go back one day.
Yeah, well, I would like to add that I never wanted to have any children. I'm not a big fan of children. Those who know me, they know that. And now here we are with 40 plus children. And we connected, and it was just incredible. These little kids, what they accomplished, and their tough lives, how they go through and how they evolved. And we were there just for a very short time, but we have to go back to see how they developed, because it was amazing.
Yeah, and I know you had a huge impact on them.
Yeah, and,
Yes.
and the idea is not, you know, somebody asked, well, how many did you bring back? I said, that's not the goal at all. The goal is to establish a better life there, that they can have their own life and work on their own, establish their own life. That's the goal in Liberia, not to bring them here or just to.
Yeah, so that they're able to build a better life for themselves.
Right.
Urs and Ursula, there's a question from Becky. She asked, did you have any difficulty with the diet?
I didn't.
You know, I missed a piece of bread or a piece of sausage or a piece of meat or eventually, but I mean, we didn't have any problems like with stomach wise or nourishment. It was just fantastic. I don't know how they do it, but the kids look very healthy. Their skin is healthy, their teeth are healthy, and it's the nutrition. But of course, they don't get any sweets whatsoever, and it's just basically the rice and these green leaves in a mash and this very nourishing red palm oil and some spices.
I loved all of it.
First, you didn't miss
to
your
me,
You can live on it.
Yeah, I really miss the green leaves. I felt good. Yeah, we had everything that we needed. I wasn't lacking anything. I wasn't missing cheese or anything like that. For me, the diet was just very good.
Is Hugh still here? He's muted. Yeah.
Hey, Ursula, maybe people would like to know how Liberia was started.
The very short basics about Liberia. It was founded in 1848 by President Monroe, and they carved out a part of Africa, and that's why the capital is Monrovia. And Liberia for Liberty, they sent the first freed slaves from the States to this piece of land in Africa, and that's how Liberia got started.
Yeah.
First, they were slaves, bringing them in, and then they freed them and they gave them a piece of land in Liberia.
We have another question. Was the trip back difficult? No, once we had a flight, it was easy. But you have to imagine yourselves being caught in a foreign country, foreign place, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't even know what's going to happen in 4 or 5 hours. So was that difficult? It wasn't difficult, but it was a little bit scary and maybe unsettling, even though we were in very good hands. When we got the repatriation flight, it took maybe a day or 2 of preparation. They drove us to Monrovia, which was a 3, almost 4-hour drive because there were health checks on the way. At the airport in Monrovia, they checked our temperature. We had to wear masks. Then we got onto the plane. And then we were crowded up in an airplane flying to Brussels. And then from Brussels on to Switzerland, we had a paper for the right of passage because the borders were somewhere closed. We had fortunately gotten on a flight from Brussels to Zurich. And once we were in Zurich, we did our 2-week self-quarantine. And then from there, we flew on to the United States via Amsterdam and Los Angeles.
Great. Do you see the other question, Ursula? Andre asks,
what was your first meal outside of Liberia? I don't even remember because it was so not important to me.
She could live on rice and red and green leaf forever. I remember, of course, and I sent a picture of myself once we arrived in Switzerland with my plate of sausages and cheese and bread and all that. But you know, you go with the flow.
Yeah.
So, by the way, when I called Q, the reason of all this trip, so he said, I am in the meeting, but I think the controller has me on mute. I'm not using my computer, so it's very harder for me to control my end. I'm here, I can hear you, but I may be muted. And so anyway, so we just wanted to mention that he is still around here somewhere.
The author of the book.
Yeah, Q.
Yeah. And for those who don't speak English very well, I'm working on the translation of the book into German. I still have about 1/3 left to go, but it's coming and it will be available as an ebook. Any more questions?
Yeah. Are you talking as Kumba McGill? Is that the person you want me to unmute or attempt?
Sure. I just wanted to read Q. No, Q was the Q on the one on the phone. He's right now. And I just want to read you because he's in Liberia at the site where they plant the rice and the vegetables up in the mountains, and he's just on his cell phone. And he just wrote to me. I said, would you like to say anything? And he just wrote, I just wanted to send a heartfelt thank you to all the participants and to Urs and Ursula for your amazing love that we still feel over here in Liberia. So that's his comment on from Q. But maybe Kumba would like to say something. I don't know.
No, but it also shows you that we are quite well connected still with the people in Liberia because they do have cell phones, they do have internet.
Wonderful. Anybody else have any other questions?
I just wanted to thank Urs and Ursula again for being so open and for going the extra mile, because oftentimes people read stories, but they don't take that step to accept the challenge of come along with us, and being so open-hearted and being so kind and just embracing the experience. And we hope for folks in the future on this call who are interested in coming to Liberia, once COVID is settled down, we would love to have you guys. We'd love for you guys to read the book and come experience Liberia with us. So Urs and Ursula, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys and thank you so much for loving our young people in Liberia and coming along on this adventure.
Thank you, Kumba. And we will drum up as we go. Does anybody else have a question? Or anybody else wants to say something?
I'm just going to remind everybody right now, if you have a question, please hold it for 1 second. I just want to share my screen one more time to remind everybody about our speaker coming up next Wednesday for our Wednesday Connect program. That'll be Jennifer Carter, and she'll be talking about immune boosting food plus whole food plant-based lifestyle. So I really hope you can all join us. Again, another quick reminder about our speaker series. There's a lot more information on our website, as well as our free virtual classes. So I encourage you all to learn more and hopefully participate soon. But if there's not any other questions, I just want to thank Urs and Ursula Baumann for your presentation. It was lovely. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm glad you're back home safe.
Yeah,
thank
you,
you,
Nancy. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Good to see you all.
Thank you so much, guys.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.